What happens when an arrogant employee disrespects her new boss, only to realize she's made the biggest mistake of her career? Meet Victoria Langley, a top saleswoman who ruled the office with her sharp tongue and even sharper attitude. She thought she was untouchable. That is, until Malik Williams walked in, the new boss. A young, brilliant, and highly ambitious leader with a plan to shake up the company. Victoria underestimated him. She mocked him. She thought he wouldn't last. But what she didn't see coming was the moment everything changed. The moment she realized she wasn't just fighting a boss. She was fighting for her own survival. A workplace power struggle. A battle of pride, competition, and shocking revelations. And an ending that will leave you speechless. Stick around, because this is the story of how one woman's arrogance nearly cost her everything. Make sure to like the video and subscribe the channel so the community can grow, and we can bring you more stories like this. Now, let's get into it. It was the first Monday of the month at Sterling Financial Group, and the office buzzed with the usual morning chatter. Employees sipped coffee, exchanged weekend stories, and settled into their cubicles. But in the corner of the open office space, at a desk decorated with expensive pens and designer notepads, sat Victoria Langley, blonde, impeccably dressed, and known for her sharp tongue as much as her sales skills. Victoria had been at Sterling Financial for 5 years, and she carried herself like royalty. She spoke in clipped tones, made demands instead of requests, and treated anyone beneath her pay grade with thinly veiled disdain. She had climbed the corporate ladder with an air of entitlement, believing herself untouchable. So when the news broke that morning that the company had a new regional director, she barely lifted her head from her computer screen. "As long as they don't get in my way, I couldn't care less," she muttered to her closest work friend Samantha. "Oh, but there's a twist," Samantha smirked, lowering her voice. "He's black and young. Apparently some hotshot from another firm." Victoria's expression darkened. "You're kidding." "Nope, Malik Williams, 36 years old, Ivy League educated, and, according to Janice in HR, ridiculously sharp." Samantha leaned in. "Word is, corporate's got big plans for him. He's supposed to whip this office into shape." Victoria scoffed, flipping her sleek blonde hair over her shoulder. "Oh, please. Corporate always gets these diversity hires and acts like they found the second coming of Warren Buffett. Let's see if he even lasts 6 months." Just as the words left her mouth, a deep, confident voice cut through the office. "Good morning, everyone." Heads turned. Victoria and Samantha exchanged a glance before swiveling their chairs. There he was, Malik Williams. Tall, broad-shouldered, and impeccably dressed in a tailored navy blue suit, he exuded quiet authority. His smooth, dark complexion contrasted with the crisp white of his dress shirt, and his watch, an understated Rolex, spoke of wealth without ostentation. He had a disarming smile, but his eyes carried a weight that meant business. "I know change can be unsettling," he continued, hands in his pockets as he scanned the room. "But I believe in results. My goal is simple, to take Sterling Financial to the next level. And to do that, I need the best from each of you. Let's get to work." Polite applause rippled through the room. Victoria, however, remained motionless, her lips pressed into a thin line. An hour later, Malik began his one-on-one introductions, making his way around the office. When he finally stopped at Victoria's desk, she barely glanced up. "Victoria Langley, right?" Malik extended a hand. "I've heard a lot about you. Your sales numbers are impressive." She pursed her lips, then slowly reached out, shaking his hand with the enthusiasm of someone touching a wet rag. Malik's brow lifted slightly. "I look forward to working with you." Victoria crossed her arms. "We'll see about that." Malik didn't flinch. "Yes, we will." Malik didn't miss the slight edge in Victoria's voice, but he chose not to react. Instead, he offered her a professional nod and moved on to the next employee. As soon as he walked away, Samantha leaned in. "Wow, You really have it out for him already, she whispered. Victoria rolled her eyes. Please, I've seen these types before. They come in all high and mighty, think they're going to change the game, and then crash and burn. Just watch. Samantha chuckled nervously. Well, let's hope he doesn't take too much of an interest in you. But that was exactly what happened. By the end of the day, Malik had called a meeting with the top-performing employees, and Victoria, like it or not, was one of them. She strutted into the conference room, taking a seat with a smirk as the others filed in. Malik stood at the head of the table, sleeves rolled up slightly, revealing strong forearms. His expression was composed, but there was an undeniable intensity behind his eyes. "All right," he began, scanning the room. "You're the backbone of this office, the ones keeping Sterling Financial ahead of the curve, which is why I need to be up front. Some things are about to change." Victoria sighed dramatically, earning a few side glances. Malik, however, remained unfazed. "We're good," he continued, "but we can be better. I've looked at the numbers. We're missing out on key opportunities because of outdated strategies. I'm introducing a new system that will improve efficiency, client relationships, and, most importantly, your commissions." Now he had their attention. Victoria, however, leaned back in her chair, unimpressed. "And what exactly is this new system?" she asked, air quotes included. Malik didn't hesitate. "A restructuring of our client outreach methods, more data-driven strategies, targeted sales, and streamlined workflow. No more wasting time on leads that won't convert." Some employees nodded in approval, but Victoria scoffed. "That sounds like a lot of micromanagement. We've been doing just fine without some outsider coming in and flipping the script." The room went silent. Malik let her words settle for a moment before responding. "I respect experience," he said, his voice calm but firm. "But complacency is the enemy of success. Fine isn't enough. We're here to dominate. You, of all people, should understand that." A flicker of something crossed Victoria's face. Annoyance, maybe even a hint of embarrassment. She wasn't used to being called out, especially not publicly. Malik continued, his gaze locked on hers. "This isn't about control. It's about making sure everyone reaches their full potential. If you're as good as I've heard, I'm sure you'll have no problem adapting." Victoria's jaw tightened. She knew a challenge when she heard one. Game on. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Victoria held Malik's gaze, refusing to be the first to look away. She could feel the curious glances of her colleagues waiting to see how she would respond. With a slow, deliberate smirk, she leaned forward, lacing her fingers together. "Adapting has never been an issue for me," she said smoothly. "I just prefer to follow strategies that actually work." A few of the employees shifted uncomfortably, sensing the heat behind her words. Samantha shot Victoria a warning look, but she ignored it. Malik, however, remained composed. If Victoria's comment had irritated him, he didn't show it. Instead, he smiled, calm, self-assured, like a man who had seen this type of resistance before and knew exactly how to handle it. "I'm glad to hear that, Victoria," he said, "because the best employees don't just follow what's worked in the past. They evolve, they push boundaries, they don't get comfortable." His words carried weight, and Victoria knew exactly what he was implying. She was coasting, relying on past success instead of innovating. It was subtle, but the implication stung. Malik turned his attention back to the rest of the team. "I expect everyone to familiarize themselves with the new structure by the end of the week. If you have concerns, my door is open. I want this transition to be smooth for everyone." The meeting wrapped up shortly after, but Victoria wasn't done. As employees filed out, she lingered, arms crossed, watching as Malik gathered his notes. "So, is this how it's going to be?" she asked coolly. Malik glanced up, amused. "How what's going to be?" She tilted her head. "You coming in here trying to prove yourself by shaking everything up?" He chuckled, placing his papers in a folder. Victoria, I don't need to prove myself. My work speaks for itself. I'm here to make this company better. And whether you like it or not, that includes you. She narrowed her eyes. And if I don't agree with your methods? Malik snapped his folder shut and met her gaze directly. Then you'll fall behind. And something tells me you don't like being second place. Victoria's lips parted slightly, but no words came out. He was reading her like an open book, and she hated it. With a final nod, Malik turned and exited the room, leaving her standing there, fuming. 3 days later, Victoria had every intention of proving Malik wrong. She continued working her own way, brushing off his new methods as unnecessary and overly complicated. But by the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. The new system was working. Clients were responding faster. Leads were closing quicker. Some of her own colleagues, people she had outperformed for years, were already adapting, pulling in numbers that rivaled hers. And worst of all, Malik knew it. Every time he passed by, there was a knowing look in his eyes, a silent challenge. Victoria hated losing. But more than that, she hated admitting when she was wrong. By the end of the week, Victoria found herself in unfamiliar territory, falling behind. She was still pulling in decent numbers, but they weren't the best anymore. A junior colleague, someone she had once mentored, had overtaken her in sales for the first time ever. Worse yet, Malik had taken notice. On Friday afternoon, he sent out a company-wide email praising the top performers of the week. Victoria wasn't on the list. She stared at her screen, her jaw tightening. Samantha peeked over her shoulder and winced. "Oof, that's gotta sting," Victoria scoffed. "Oh, please, it's 1 week." "Yeah," Samantha mused, "but if you don't start using the new system, it might be more than that." Victoria clenched her fists. She hated that Samantha was right. She refused to be outperformed. So, for the first time, she did what she swore she wouldn't do. She studied the new system. That evening, long after most of the office had cleared out, she sat at her desk, analyzing the data Malik had implemented. At first, she looked for flaws, something she could use to discredit him. But as she went deeper, something unsettling happened. She saw the logic. The streamlined process eliminated wasted time, pinpointed high-value leads, and maximized conversions. Her stomach churned with frustration. Malik wasn't just a corporate puppet here to check a diversity box, he was actually good. As she massaged her temples, she heard footsteps approaching. "You're still here?" Victoria glanced up. Malik stood in the doorway of his office, his suit jacket slung over one arm. She forced a smirk. "What? You spying on me now?" He chuckled. "No, but it's interesting. You seemed pretty dismissive of my methods earlier this week. Now, you're the last one in the office, staring at them like they hold the secrets of the universe." Victoria sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I'm just making sure I know what I'm up against." Malik stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "Victoria, you're not up against anyone. The only competition you have is yourself. And from what I've heard, you used to love a challenge." She looked away, his words hitting closer than she cared to admit. After a moment, he continued. "You're one of the best salespeople here. But being the best isn't just about maintaining success, it's about evolving." Victoria exhaled slowly. She wasn't used to admitting when she was wrong, but right now, she had 2 choices: keep resisting and get left behind, or step up and prove why she was still number 1. She looked up at Malik, meeting his gaze. "All right," she said. "Show me." A slow smile spread across his face. "Gladly." By Monday morning, Victoria was a different woman. She had spent the entire weekend studying Malik's system, not just to understand it, but to master it. If she was going to play this game, she was going to win. The office buzzed with its usual energy, but this time something was different. Victoria wasn't just working, she was dominating. She hit the phones with precision, targeting high-value leads with the efficiency of a seasoned sniper. She followed the new strategies to the letter, closing deals faster than she ever had before. By midday, she had already outperformed her numbers from the previous week. By the end of the day, she had secured the highest sales of anyone in the office, and Malik noticed. That evening, as employees were packing up, Malik approached her desk. "Nice work today," he said, arms crossed, a small smirk tugging at his lips. Victoria leaned back in her chair, feigning nonchalance. "Oh? Didn't think I had it in me?" He chuckled. "I knew you did. You just had to get out of your own way." She rolled her eyes but couldn't fight the small smile forming on her lips. "Don't get used to it," she said playfully. "I still don't like being told what to do." Malik nodded knowingly. "Noted. But let's be honest, you don't really mind competition. You just don't like losing." Victoria tilted her head, considering his words. He wasn't wrong. She had built her career on winning. And now, for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was truly being challenged. Maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. As Malik turned to leave, he paused. "Oh, and Victoria." She looked up. "There's a senior management position opening soon. If you keep this up, you might be looking at a promotion." Her breath hitched slightly, but she masked it with a smirk. "Well then," she said, "I guess I'd better keep proving you wrong." Malik chuckled. "Or proving me right." As he walked away, Victoria exhaled, staring at her screen. For the first time in years, she felt something new. Excited. She wasn't just fighting for her spot at the top anymore. She was fighting to become something even greater. And she wasn't going to stop until she got there. This workplace experience shows that pride can be a dangerous thing. Victoria believed she was untouchable, but arrogance blinded her from seeing the truth. Success isn't just about staying on top, it's about evolving. She fought change, resisted growth, and nearly lost everything because of it. This story proves that in business, and in life, refusing to adapt means falling behind. The real winners aren't the ones who cling to the past, but the ones who embrace the future. So, if there's one lesson to take away, it's this. Never let ego stand in the way of progress. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start losing. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notification to be the first to know when interesting and lesson-packed stories like this one drop.